One of the van's key components, Chrysler promised it would take action. How's it going? We'll see what you think after you watch this from our investigative reporter, Carl Eidsvog.
Okay, sir. Sir, do you understand that this is not a recall, that they have not found any type of defective with this?
What this woman is talking about is one of the most popular family vehicles ever made, the Chrysler Minivan. Chrysler Corporation is doing something absolutely unheard of in automotive history. It is spending millions of dollars to replace the rear door latch on its 1984 to 95 minivans it says is not defective. Why would you replace a part when there's nothing wrong with it?
This is one of the most lethal defects that we've seen in auto safety history.
Clarence Ditlow is the executive director of the Center for Auto Safety. The center has been analyzing minivan latch complaints for the past 5 years.
Been at least 41 people killed in ejections from the rear. And the average recall doesn't have a single death, let alone 41 deaths. Even the Ford Pinto, which people think of as one of the worst safety defects ever, only had 28 known deaths at the time the government ordered a recall in that case.
Last March, the government made a deal with Chrysler Corporation. Chrysler agreed to replace the latches, and the government did not order a recall.
As part of what Chrysler calls its service action, it hired this St. Charles, Missouri telemarketing firm, Merritt's, to set up its toll-free minivan hotline. Merritt's operators have Chrysler-scripted answers to almost every conceivable question. So when you call with a question, operators read you a carefully prepared response. Chrysler says it's all to give its customers peace of mind.
Your concern is our concern.
But what's really going on here? With her manager laughing in the background, here's how an operator for the minivan hotline responds to a customer who's worried about safety.
Make sure your children are properly seated in the rear seat belts. My name is Angela Woldman, W-O-H-L-D-M-A-N-N.
Watch and listen to what happens when the caller isn't satisfied with the response and wants to talk with someone else. And by the way, the guy in the background is the top manager of the hotline, Lou Nimnick. We'll hear from him later.
I am a supervisor, sir. There is nobody above me. Okay, well, let me go try to find my supervisor for you, but I have to...
It will be by Chrysler, will be by that same...
Dick?
Keep in mind, Chrysler set up this hotline to respond to the safety concerns of its minivan owners. And with some reports of accidents where the hatch opened upon impact and people flew out the back and were seriously injured or killed, owners may have good reason to be concerned. But that's not what the minivan hotline operators are scripted to say. We repeatedly heard operators tell callers there was nothing to be concerned about.
No, there's no problem with the latch.
It is safe. They did find no defect.
Some minivan owners told The Current Affair when they called the hotline, they felt misled and mistreated.
He called me a liar. He made me feel like I was like this small.
Well, the way she put it was a nuisance type problem. And to me, that's not a nuisance. That's a potential hazard.
Another person who didn't like what he heard from the minivan hotline is a man who used to work there.
Well, I don't think that the American public were getting the straight scoop.
He's Brian Randan, and he wanted the public to know what he learned. That's when A Current Affair got involved. We hired him to wear a hidden camera and document what he observed. He had worked on Merritt's projects for 7 weeks, and his last few days recorded what happens when customers call. Customers like Bill Sisler of Winchester, Maryland, who hauls his kids everywhere in his minivan.
They're in it practically every day. I don't want an accident to occur like it has happened to other people.
Sisler's had no problems with the latch on his van, and he wants to make sure he never does. So he called the hotline.
I was not really satisfied with the answer, and I asked for, to speak to someone else.
You want me to hand you over to my supervisor now, sir?
Did you ever wonder what happens when you ask to speak to someone's supervisor? Well, here's what happened with Bill Sisler's call. The operator tells the supervisor an upset customer wants to talk.
You want to talk to him, though? Or do you want me to get his name and number?
Get his name and number, because I'm about to go to lunch.
With one supervisor heading to lunch, our man seeks out another.
This guy can stew for a minute.
After letting him stew, the call gets passed to Lou Nimnick. He's the guy you saw laughing before. He tells Bill Sisler there's nothing wrong with his van.
The latch on your vehicle is safe.
But just listen to what he says the next day.
They certainly could have built a better latch to start with.
Okay, there's no question. They built a hell of a van. However, if you look at it, it is the safest car on the road as a class, which means that if you want to analyze it, even though Chrysler could have done a better job on their latches, all right, because undoubtedly there have been a few people killed that wouldn't have been. There's no question there's probably been as many as 20 or 30 or 50 people who were either killed when they wouldn't have been or severely screwed up when they would have only been maybe badly injured.
One thing to keep in mind, a manager of a consumer hotline is not a safety engineer. So when the manager tells an employee people have died because of a problem with the latch, that's simply his opinion, not Chrysler's.
Although the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, has not officially declared the minivan latch defective, a top NHTSA official told a current affair just 2 weeks ago, quote, "The bottom line is there's a safety problem." When we told that official the Minivan hotline was telling customers the government found no problems with the latch, he disagreed, telling us, quote, "That infers we gave Chrysler a clean bill of health. That is certainly not the case."
The government's auto safety experts refused to be interviewed on camera for our story. So did Chrysler executives. Chrysler told us it would answer absolutely no questions from a current affair. One person who was able to get candid comments was our man on the inside. Listen to what the head of the Minivan hotline said about customers' safety concerns when he wasn't reading the Chrysler script.
Why do they keep these damn unsafe, terrible, horrible screwed up latch minivans if they're so concerned about their children? And I'm serious, if it's that much of a, if it really is that big of a deal, why don't they take their damn Caravan and go trade it in for a new Windstar or whatever?
I think it's time Chrysler took a look at the operation of its hotline as well as its tailgate latches. Well, up next.